The most common questions I receive from viewers are about gear, in particular, which gear to purchase. And while I can't answer exactly what you should purchase because there are so many factors and so much depends on personal preference, I can help lead you through the process and help you narrow down your choices, what to think about, the questions to ask yourself. And because we're headed into the holiday season, and I know that there will be a lot of sales and there will be a lot of folks looking at new cameras and new lenses and maybe even accessories and such, it seems like a good time to talk through my purchasing process in a video for you all. In case you're new here, hi, my name is Leigh. I have been sharing videos every week here on this channel for 12 years. I love photography as an art form and as a lifestyle. I love gear. I love talking about all of it. Subscribe if that sounds interesting to you. I would love to have you. One thing I want to get out there first. There is no one best camera brand or best camera or lens. Even for each person, there is no one best. There are so many great cameras and lenses out there that every one of us has a bunch of options that would suit us. So it's important to remain calm. Choosing a camera or lens is a big deal because you're spending your hard-earned money on it, but there is no one right answer. And there certainly isn't a wrong answer. All of the cameras and lenses on the market right now are very good. That being said, managing expectations and understanding the actual benefits and drawbacks of gear is important. The first question that I ask almost every time someone asks me which camera or lens is best for them is this: what is it about your current gear that you find lacking? And a lot of folks have a notional idea of what might be better with a new camera or lens, but they really don't know the differences or how they will actually impact their photography. And often they would be far better served to hone their technical skills and practice more, or to focus on timing, light, and location. A new camera, it just won't get you up before dawn to capture a sunrise. And a new camera isn't going to overcome not knowing how to best utilize your gear. Only utilizing the gear will do that. Your money would potentially be better spent on a tank of gas and driving out to some beautiful location. Okay, lecture over. Let's get to my actual suggestions. The first step that I recommend is to consider your intentions and your goals. Whether this is your first interchangeable lens camera or you're an experienced photographer who's simply looking for your next camera body or your next lens, what are you looking for? What do you want to do with that gear? And how often will you use it? And of course, what's your budget? All of those are broad strokes. We'll need to fine-tune from there, but getting you thinking about your specific intentions is an important place to start. By far, the most popular reason that someone wants to purchase a new camera body, and often a question even for first-time buyers, is, I want full frame. Do I need full frame? Is full frame worth it? So, sensor size. I've owned and continue to own different sensor sizes in my cameras. There are benefits and drawbacks to each one. And I won't go in depth with explaining sensor size in this video, but I have a few generalizations for you. The larger the sensor, the more low light capability you have. More on that in a moment. You can achieve shallower depths of field. You generally perceive a greater sense of depth in the image. And then the more expensive the bodies and lenses. Plus, they're often larger and heavier. Again, though, those are generalizations. Let me elaborate. Every sensor is different, and each camera processes the images off the sensor differently. Plus, technology has changed immensely and continues to change. So if you have a 10-year-old DSLR with an APS-C sensor and feel that it lacks low light capability or dynamic range, you will be surprised with how different APS-C sensors are today. low light capability, or rather high ISO performance in terms of image quality, and how it affects autofocus speed and accuracy are much better today. Dynamic range is often much better. In fact, these things are typically better in APS-C cameras of today than full frame cameras of 10 years ago. So full frame is not necessarily your answer. If you do have price limitations, or you like a smaller form factor of your cameras and your lenses, a sensor smaller than full frame can be a very good choice. Some other broad topics when choosing a camera are DSLR or mirrorless. And what about brand? If you're purchasing your first camera, it's definitely easier because you don't have any brand allegiance or any gear that you want to be able to continue to use. But if you have, say, a DSLR system and you're thinking of purchasing a mirrorless camera, I get that question a lot. Is it a good idea? And that depends. If you want to continue to develop your system in the future with new lenses that are introduced and then potentially new camera bodies in the future, mirrorless is the way to go. There will continue to be DSLRs and their lenses for sale for many, many years, but the new DSLR market is winding down. And as for brands, there's no one best. I would recommend sticking with the brand that you like, or if you are new to camera purchasing, I'll come back around to this topic later in this video. Now it's time to narrow it down to specific features that you're looking for. There are so many specifications on a camera body spec sheet. Think back to what you decided about your intentions and your goals that I mentioned earlier. And when looking at the spec sheet of a camera, which line items will help you with those intentions? If you're really into wildlife photography, looking at the frames per second and the buffer of a body will be important to you. If you are into event photography, you might need 2 card slots so that you can record to both at the same time, so you have an immediate backup. Or if you're often in dimly lit situations, or you like astrophotography, you will probably be looking at the ISO range. When you start narrowing that down, the next thing is to think realistically. That feature that you believe is better than the camera you have, will you actually use it? Here's a personal example. I rented the Sony Alpha 1 to use alongside my own Sony Alpha 7R4 when I visited Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Parks a few months ago. And it was great. It was a very fast camera with a very deep buffer. It had stellar autofocus and advanced video features, all of which I used on the trip. But after my initial excitement died down, and I remembered the price tag, I had to ask myself, would I use those features enough to justify the cost of purchase? Are those features really that much better than the cameras that I already own? Again, better enough to justify the cost? And the answer for me for that point in time was no. So I sent my rental back, and unsurprisingly, I didn't think about it again. Other features that might be important to you are weatherproofing of cameras and lenses, macro capability of lenses, autofocus features, size, weight. If you plan to capture video, you might want an audio jack. What about battery life? And if you are purchasing a second camera body to use alongside the one you have, one thing that I always find helpful is if the batteries are the same. Similarly, I had a viewer asking about lenses, and he made his choice in part because the filter size was the same as some of his other lenses. I could go on about specifications because there are so many, but the spec sheet doesn't tell the complete story of a camera or a lens. If you aren't familiar with a brand, or if you are uncertain about a camera or a lens, if you're a first-time buyer, I recommend trying out before you purchase. And many retailers have good return policies, but it can be nice to try something out by renting it or simply by trying it in a camera shop. You can make sure that it feels right in your hands, that the features that you expect to like meet your expectations. Some camera shops will even allow you to bring in a memory card and capture a few photos so that you can take them back home, and then you can pixel peep at your computer if that's important to you. That being said, Don't waste the store's time. A lot of these are local companies. If you can't purchase your camera or your lens there, at least purchase something. Lens wipes, anything to at least help them out and thank them for their time. Of course, one very important thing about any gear item is cost. The last tip is to check out used gear from trusted sources. You can save quite a bit of money purchasing used. You can certainly find older gear, but you can even find newer stuff too. The safest way is to choose a seller that has been around for a while. I use KEH. I am even an affiliate with them because I like them so much. I will add my links and codes in the description because you can get a discount if you use them, but there are other places that do a good job of testing the gear and grading it so that you know what you're getting. Even actually some camera shops will have used gear available for sale. And if you are purchasing from an individual rather than a company with a reliable track record, make sure that you really try the gear before you buy it. Bring a memory card and make sure that everything works before you hand over your money. Okay, one more thing. In this video, I've discussed reasons that you would purchase something new, but if you simply want a new camera or a new lens, that's a totally valid reason to purchase a new camera or lens. If you have the budget and a new piece of gear will bring you joy and get you out the door, go for it. There's no need to come up with further reasons. We all like what we like. In the end, we all have to weigh our wants and our needs with our budgets. But knowing what your goals are and being realistic about what you'll actually use will go a long way toward helping you make gear decisions. And remember my mini lecture from earlier. Make sure that you're not trying to replace skill and technique with a new gear purchase. It will often leave you disappointed. If you all have anything that you consider when making a purchase, let the rest of us know in the comments below. You just may help someone. Please do give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching.